You can listen to The Front on your smart speaker every morning. To hear the latest episode, just say, play the news from The Australian.
From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Tuesday, June 11. Accused sex offenders should have the right to avoid a jury trial, according to the Australian Lawyers Alliance, which says judge-alone trials can be fairer to the accused and would avoid the risk of jurors doing their own research. Chairman Peter Costello is gone. Now the pressure at Nine Entertainment is on Chief Executive Mike Sneesby. Senior managers at the publishing and broadcast giant have declined to back Sneesby, who's dealing with the fallout from allegations of a toxic workplace culture. That story's live right now at theaustralian.com.au. What happened to Dr Mosley? It's the mystery fascinating the world as a popular TV doctor dies on what should have been a blissful holiday in the Greek islands. Today, the death and life of Dr Michael Mosley, who changed the way we talk and think about our health.
Life comes at us fast. Thoughts and ideas, hopes and worries, it is all too easy to get caught up in the whirlwind.
This is the voice of Dr Michael Mosley, a 67-year-old British medico and TV presenter who devoted his life to making other people feel better.
But deep within, we do have the capacity to achieve an inner peace that does not depend on the outside world or on anyone else.
Deep Calm is one of Mosley's podcasts, part of a suite of thoughtful, inspiring shows he made for the BBC and other broadcasters, including SBS Australia, synthesising his medical training and appetite for knowledge with a gift for simply communicating big ideas about everything from diet to sleep. In that podcast episode you heard, Mosley was explaining the latest research on the science of how our brains process images of the natural world to ease our stress.
This activates your body's relaxation response, slowing your heart rate, lowering your blood pressure, and, via the release of calming neurotransmitters in the brain, lifting your mood.
Mosley was trusted and liked. That's why, over the past 5 days, the world has been gripped by the story of Mosley's disappearance on a Greek island, Symi, where he was holidaying with his wife Claire after he decided to take a walk in nature.
Dr Michael Mosley.
Dr Michael Mosley.
Television, Dr Michael Mosley.
It's believed the body of Dr Michael Mosley has been found.
Over 5 days, an immense search of air, land and sea took place. Emergency services, tourists and the island's locals searched cliffs, the rocky shore, the ocean and the bleak terrain above. But all along, Mosley was right there, just out of sight, about 10 or 15 metres from the resort.
The body was found just behind me in this incredibly steep and rocky terrain. It was close to the path where he was thought to have taken to Aegea Marina in Symi, but it's not an actual route down to the beach. It appears that he may have slipped over while making his way down.
This is our colleague, journalist Ed Southgate of London's The Sun.
Just this morning at around 10:30, I was doing a piece to camera when an agitated barman alerted us to something behind that fence by pointing up. He began marching back to the restaurant area as we looked over the wall and ourselves saw the body.
Just before this, other journalists with the island's mayor in a boat had seen something shining on the rocky slope and had called the barman to alert him. The brightness they'd seen turned out to be the sun glinting off Michael Mosley's wristwatch. In his piece for The Sun, Ed wrote, "I froze. It was horrifying and incredibly overwhelming. I was hit by an intense shock and sadness. I felt sick, and at several points I was on the verge of tears."
This horrific discovery comes 5 days after Dr Mosley went missing, and huge questions are sure to follow over why search teams took so long to get to him and why he was ultimately found by a barman and then a journalist.
Here's the barman, Ilias Tsavaris, speaking to Ed.
They said to me, can you go and check that place over there? I was able to see him from far away. So I went close to make sure that he is. And I went close and I saw the body down there.
And after you saw the body, what happened then?
I called immediately the guy who called me the owner, because he was with the Coast Guard. I said, you know what, I found the body. Come, run now.
The Greek island of Symi is in the South Aegean, part of the Dodecanese chain of islands, close to Turkey. Symi is mentioned by many of the giants of ancient history, Thucydides, Herodotus and Homer, whose 2,800-year-old epic poem The Iliad describes a handsome King Nereus of Symi setting sail with 3 ships to attack Troy, a city far to the north in what's now Turkey, to recapture Queen Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, who had been captured by the Trojans. Symi's economy is built on fishing and now tourism. Symi's big on destination weddings, where couples can marry in the island's antique stone churches or even the giant monastery of St Michael of Panormitis. And after the ceremony, the happy couples come to Agia Marina for their receptions. And it's just here, outside a wire fence, steps from the bar, where Mosley's body lay over the weekend. Mosley's wife, Claire Bailey Mosley, released a statement in which she said how proud she was of the couple's 4 adult children who'd rushed the island to join the search. She thanked locals, searchers and the media. Here's Dr Claire Bailey Mosley's statement as reported on Sky News.
She says, I don't know quite where to begin with this. It's devastating to have lost Michael, my wonderful, funny, kind and brilliant husband. We had an incredibly lucky life together. We loved each other very much and were so happy together. We're taking comfort in the fact that he so very nearly made it. He did an incredible climb, took the wrong route and collapsed where he couldn't be easily seen by the extensive search team.
She was with Michael Mosley at 1:30 p.m. local time on Wednesday, when he left the beach at Agios Nikolos to walk back to Agia Marina, where they were staying. About 20 minutes after leaving the beach, CCTV captured him halfway to his destination, walking through the town of Pedi, striding out confidently, shaded by his umbrella. The rest of the walk should have taken Mosley between 10 minutes and half an hour, but it seems he ended up doing a much more arduous hike than he'd planned.
Well, we know that about just over a kilometre from where he set off, he was seen at a cafe or walking past a cafe, and that was the critical juncture point.
Jacqueline Magnay is the Australian's Europe correspondent.
He should have turned left to go back to his accommodation, but instead he appears to have gone right and gone up a very steep, rocky mountainside. Now, we don't know whether he got lost, whether that was intentional, or whether he was confused, whether he was suffering heat exhaustion at that point. But he did walk past assistance. So the thought is that if he was in any kind of distress at that point, that he could have got help. But he's chosen or has gone up this very rocky, steep mountainside and then obviously has reached the top, maybe looked at the view, and then has gone down the other side to where this marina is.
He didn't have a mobile phone with him, and his increasingly frantic wife raised the alarm that afternoon. Initial reports from local police suggest Mosley died several days before he was found on Sunday local time, and his backpack was located several metres above him on the slope down to the water. That's led to speculation he slipped, possibly after a medical episode of some kind. Coming up, Michael Mosley's Lessons for Life. We'd love you to join our subscribers at theaustralian.com.au, who are always the first to know about the world's biggest stories and the news closest to home. We'll be back after this break. After qualifying as a doctor, Michael Mosley joined the BBC in the mid-80s as a producer, determined to use his medical knowledge to communicate with the world. But along the way, he made some confronting discoveries about his own health that changed his life dramatically. In his early 50s, Mosley was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He'd gained a lot of weight around his midsection, and he had a shocking realisation he might be on the same path as his father, who'd been overweight and had also suffered type 2 diabetes. Mosley's father had heart failure and early onset dementia and died at 74. Mosley took up a Mediterranean diet, high protein, high in green veggies and lots of healthy fats like olive oil. He also experimented with intermittent fasting, spending 12 or more hours out of every 24 eating nothing at all. For some people, that's skipping breakfast or skipping dinner. Mosley's podcast, Just One Thing, for the BBC, focused on all the small things we can do to feel and be better, like eating dark chocolate.
I have a seriously sweet tooth, so much so that I normally don't have any sugary treats in the house, because I know I'll just eat them. But today I am allowing myself just one thing. That should not only satisfy my cravings, but may even lower my blood pressure, improve my cardiovascular health, and perhaps even boost my brain.
Working out.
I've been doing HIIT, high-intensity interval training. Now, HIIT may well be the single best way to get the most benefits out of exercise in the shortest amount of time.
And getting a better sleep.
It's only 10 o'clock in the evening, but I'm already beginning to wind down and get ready for bed.
Here's Jacqueline Magnay.
Well, he was very popular because he was quirky and he put himself out there. He used his own body as experiments. So he did this one bizarre experiment where he actually ingested tapeworms and had tapeworms in his body for 6 weeks to see the impact on the body that would have. Now, that kind of shows how a little bit bizarre, a little bit off-field he was, but he had a very engaging personality and he presented his theories and experiments in a very factual, engaging way. He was a voice that was respected. So if Dr. Mosley suggested something, people actually took notice because he had done these experiments on himself, because he'd come up with these revolutionary ideas. He was somebody that people thought, oh, okay, I'm going to listen to this. So his advice was taken on board. Whether people acted on it is another matter, but it was something that he was genuinely very respected for and well loved for.
Jacqueline Magnay is the Australian's Europe correspondent. Thanks for joining us on The Front. We'll be back right here tomorrow.